Fantastic Four. Welcome in everybody to Coda's Cove. Today, me and special guest Radioslay, thank you for joining once again, are going to be talking about our review for Fantastic Four First Steps. All right, so this is one I have been on the fence about. Am I excited to watch it? Am I not excited to watch it? Because we've had 3 films in the past, not very good, and Fan 4 Stick was horrible to this day. I will not watch it. So, Fantastic Four First Steps. I have to say, Marvel finally did the first family right. I will say this was a very enjoyable film. Honestly, I loved this film. Blew me away from what my expectations were. And overall, I'm very happy to see where this storyline goes because this will be spoiler free, but they did introduce a character that is very pivotal and very powerful in the Marvel universe. So it'll be exciting to see where that goes. So Radio, just real quick, what did you think of the movie?
Yeah, no, I agree. It was a very good movie. I didn't really have much expectation. I try not to have a lot of expectations going into any movie, but I definitely left the theater satisfied and definitely one that I would want to watch again for sure. I can't say that the same about some of the other Marvel movies over the past few years, but this one is definitely in that category to go watch again.
Yeah, I agree. I'm debating going to watch it again. I'm really debating whether I should go drive an hour away to go to IMAX and watch it because I do feel like this movie would be done justice in IMAX because some of the visuals and stuff we'll talk about later that were done very well in this movie. I think IMAX would be quite the experience to see. All right, so we're going to do this like we've done before, folks. We're just going to go pros and cons list. We'll give our ratings at the end. So we'll start with our pros. Radio, would you like to give us your first pro of the movie?
Yeah. So I think one of the pros that I didn't really expect to see is you got to see a lot of I'll say like raw emotion from a lot of the different characters, and seeing what each of them are dealing with. They're all kind of going through their own challenges and being able to kind of live along with them and see how each one of them are handling it. And a lot of them are real like life scenarios that we deal with in everyday life. So I thought it was cool, and certain people can relate to it and how they handle it, and just seeing how they work through it was pretty cool in my eyes. So the emotions of the characters throughout the entire movie, I thought was definitely a plus, and they did a very good job with it.
I totally agree with you. The emotion aspect, what makes this movie great is what you already hit on. There's stuff that we can relate to through these people, even though they're like, super powered people. They are going through things that us regular people go through all the time. And characters like Spider-Man, that is why they are so loved by so many people. And they're some of everybody's like favorite heroes is because you can relate to them. You don't feel like an outcast with them. You understand where they're coming from because in the situation you're put in like they are, you're going to act naturally just like how they do. So it's nice to see that even people with, some guy stretching for as long as he can, he's going through some stuff that we would go through. So that was nice to see. That's going to be my first pro is actually the casting. I was a little nervous mostly about Joseph Quinn because I didn't know how he would do in this type of movie. But I gotta say, he's really growing on me. The last few films I've seen him in Warfare. He did very well in that movie. I thought he did really good as a Human Torch and Johnny Storm in this movie. Pedro Pascal, you're always gonna get an A+ effort from Pedro. I know there's like this Pedro fatigue amongst people in the world because he seems to be in every little thing now. But gotta give the guy credit. I enjoyed watching him. I enjoyed his portrayal of Reed Richards. I thought he did a good job. Vanessa Kirby was my favorite character in the movie. She feels like the heart and soul of the family. Her emotions in some scenes with Reed, with some of the decisions that they have to make in this movie for the plot line. She did a great job, and it probably helps that they're married in real life, so they could probably just take some of the stressors in their real life and portray it into their acting. But I thought she did fantastic. Even Moss Bachrach, I think is his name, who plays Ben Grimm, the thing. Thought he did very well too. And I gotta say, our guy that plays Galactus, his name is escaping me. I got it right here. Ralph Ineson. Whew, he did a great job as Galactus. I loved Galactus in this film. So casting was good. The emotion was great. Everybody played very well off of each other, and that's what I really liked in this film. They did do a good job of actually making the Fantastic Four in this movie feel like a family. This is Marvel's the first family, and they did a good job showing the family dynamics. They like to have Sunday dinner together, which I thought was very cool. So I really like that aspect of the movie.
Yeah, and real quick, I hopefully I got her name right. The woman who played Silver Surfer, was it Julia Gardner?
Garner,
Is that
yes,
yeah.
Shalabal.
Yeah. Okay, so she got a lot of hate. Maybe the Marvel got a lot of hate for casting a woman Silver Surfer because we're all used to having a male Silver Surfer, but I think she did a fantastic job, no pun intended, of playing the role, and I enjoyed watching her character kind of throughout the movie too.
I agree with that too. What they do with her character in this movie and how they kind of deep dive into the Silver Surfer, we never really gotten before. And I thought her storyline, I thought was super interesting. Like the back and forth she has with Johnny Storm, I thought was very cool. And for the people out there complaining that it was a female, because I got some comments about that on my short, like talking about my instant reaction out of theater.
Mm-hmm.
But people, don't sit there and complain and say Marvel like gender swapped.
Yeah.
Shala Ball was introduced in 1968. So don't act here and sit like you're a super fan and Silver Surfer is your favorite character if you don't even really know all the story of the Silver Surfer. There's multiple Silver Surfers. And this you know what? Segue, look at this professional show right here. We're gonna segue. That's my next pro. I like that this movie wasn't tied to, what is it? Are we in Earth 616? Is that what we are in the main Marvel?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not tied to the main universe. We are in a different universe, which I really enjoyed because this movie, you do not have to do your homework and go on Disney Plus and watch 3 or 4 garbage shows like Ironheart. I call it Iron Shark because I'm not watching it. You don't have to, read books. You don't have to pay attention to any of the other movies in the timeline. This is when you can go in completely fresh, wanting to watch something new for Marvel, and you will understand everything. With that being tied, this is why you could probably get Shalabal in here because it's a different universe. I'm sure we are going to get everybody's Silver Surfer that they're used to seeing in 616, Doomsday, some project down the line. We will end up seeing them. We know the Fantastic Four gets to 616 at one point because of a major Easter egg at the end of Thunderbolt. So for everybody that's freaking out that it's a woman, I promise you the male is somewhere around the corner. Do not freak out.
It literally, I mean, there were even if it was really just like her figure. I mean, like other than that, you wouldn't have known if it was like a man or like a woman. Like it's just, and what I mean by that, it's not like she was all like girl boss and this and that, and it wasn't like that. It was just a character that just happened to be a woman. Like
right, exactly.
So I think people just in this day and age of I guess I'll use the term wokeism. It wasn't that, it was just like you said, taking a character that already existed in the Marvel universe and using it. I mean, that's really all it was.
And if you're not going to go watch the movie because of that, you're doing yourself a huge disservice because she does a very good job in this role. She's actually probably one of the most interesting characters in the movie. So don't be so close-minded like that just because of that decision. She does a great job. She's just not thrown in there. So what is your next pro?
I'm running out because we had so many that we agreed on. I may steal your thunder on this one if it's okay.
Go for it.
And that was the we talked before we started this is it wasn't a origins story. It hit the ground running, and then it did sprinkle in because if myself, you, many other fans, we kind of know the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
They go into space, they get hit some kind of cosmic thing, they get the powers, great. But there's some people, like you said, you don't have to know anything about the Fantastic Four. And my wife is a great example. She didn't know anything about the Fantastic Four. We saw it together, so she at least got to know how they came to be, how they got their superpowers, right? They weren't bitten by a radioactive spider. They weren't born with it. She understood that through these little clips that they lay out throughout the movie, you can see what happened while not spending an hour trying to build this whole thing up. And then you only have another hour and a half to do the actual plot. I think that's some of the problem with some of the origin story movies, like your Captain Marvel, the first Captain America, and so on, is you spend that at least 50% of the movie trying to explain where they come from.
Right.
And you don't really get into the meat of the plot until like halfway through or 2/3 of the way through the movie. So
Right.
that was kind of cool how they did that.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked the way that they did it. It was like the intro to the Fantastic Four was a talk show, like the Ted Gilbert show. That was cool. And the way they intertwined, like the Fantastic Four on this earth, they are loved by New York and the world. So that was very cool to see everybody giving their appreciation for them. I just overall, I thought it was a very cool way, and I do like how throughout the film they will cut back to like stuff to show like what Ben Grimm is going through, because to turn into a rock man after something like that, I'm sure it messes up your mentals a little bit. So they kind of hint at that. They don't really dive as deep into Ben Grimm's character as I wanted to, but they still did a good job. So I really like that. My next pro is honestly just the way this movie looks. It's a beautifully shot movie. The visuals look great. I didn't notice any really bad CGI at all. I thought the CGI was top notch. I love the costumes they put for the Fantastic Four in this movie. And what I love the most is just this retro look we have on this earth. It's retro, but futuristic. It's got like a Jetsons vibes. And I think it just blends so perfectly with the Fantastic Four. Like Herbie, he's an advanced robot, but the dude's got a VHS tape in his head, and that's how he works his off of VHS. So I thought it was very cool. Looked great. Their little car that could drive and fly, I thought was really cool. Just everything in the movie looks good. Even people in the background, the way they dress, it almost looks like they're dressed. Some people are dressed like old detectives you would see in a film noir style film, but it looks well. It matches with this earth. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, and one other quick thing I just thought of that I liked, it was a little refreshing. And I'm not to say that some of the movies that do this are bad, but there were very little like those Marvel one-liners or trying to be funny or forced comedy. It was, I want to say it's a little bit more, I'll use the word serious kind of movie than, Thor: Love and Thunder, where felt like it was super forced and like it was trying to be funny, and it wasn't that. Sure, there are some funny comedic points, spots in there that made you giggle, but the majority of the movie was, hey, we got this. We're dealing with this stuff. Now we have this, giant celestial trying to eat our planet. What do we do? And it was that type of kind of action, adventure type of movie rather than, trying to make it a comedic movie, which it's not.
Right, that's a great point. And yeah, I'll be honest, this movie, there's a lot of there's dark undertones in this movie. It does get a little dark, a little bit more than what I guess your normal Marvel film would do, and I am glad they kind of toned back the comedy, because I know you didn't go see Superman, but Superman ruined so many good dialogue and emotional moments because James Gunn had to throw his humor in there and make an awkward joke at the wrong time. And it's like, just let that simmer a little bit. And we don't need to have comedy in every single scene. I like how they did it here. It felt natural to what was happening. Everybody knows the one scene where Johnny's screaming at Ben to say the thing. Say the thing. No, I'm not saying it, Johnny. It felt natural in that moment. I thought it was very well done. So I do agree. That's a great point. They did a good job with balancing the humor and keeping serious tones throughout the whole movie. All right, so my next one, not spoilers or anything, but there are characters that pop up in this film that we have not seen in previous Fantastic Four films that a lot of people probably don't even know about, that are kind of important to the Fantastic Four. It's so hard to even talk about this without going into spoilers. We'll just say there are moments where you will see members of the Fantastic Four Rogues Gallery throughout the film, and I thought they did it in a very cool way. And it's gonna, I think, get people wanting to possibly, go back and read the comics or look on, some YouTube channel about who is this character in the Fantastic Four, why are they important. So I thought they did a cool job with that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So the next one, Galactus. Rise of the Silver Surfer, way back when in the mid 2000s. Even as a kid, when I saw that Galactus was just a giant cloud, that was probably the first time as a child I probably mumbled WTF, because that was trash. I'm sure it had to do something with what the CGI we had, the tech we had at the time. It is garbage. Galactus in this movie, I love the look of him. I love Ralph Ineson, I believe's portrayal of him, his voice, and the way Galactus looks and acts in this movie is actually kind of terrifying. They scale him perfectly in this movie. That was one thing I was worried about. How big or how small are they going to make him? I think they made him the perfect size in this movie. He is big enough to be like, holy crap, what are we supposed to do with that? But it's not so big where it's, it's going to ruin the movie and take you out of it because it's not unbelievable. because I mean, Galactus in the comics, this dude is a cosmic being. He floats around space and he's grabbing planets by the hand and eating them like an apple. So we don't have that. So I thought they did a great job with Galactus in this movie.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Everything that you just said. It's funny because when you watch the trailer, maybe this was just me, but when you watch the trailer, obviously you see glimpses of him, so it's not like a spoiler that he's in the movie. But he seemed a little bit more cartoony in the trailer, and I got a little concerned. But when you saw him in the actual movie, you nailed it. That he looked amazing, and I thought they did a great job with him.
When he's first introduced in the Fantastic Four, see him for the first time, you get a shock factor, and it was really well done. The whole setup to it was very creepy, intense, because you're just waiting for like Fantastic Four has no clue what they're getting into, and it was a great scene. I thought that whole sequence of them finding Galactus for the first time and dealing with that situation, followed by an escape scene we have, was just, it was so cool. The visuals and the CGI throughout those sequences were awesome to watch. The score to this movie, this is probably one of my favorite soundtracks to one of these Marvel movies. I couldn't even tell you since when. I mean, I've been singing the Fantastic Four theme, and it has been stuck in my head for days now. Just randomly at work, I'll be sitting there doing something, and I'll just say, Fantastic Four. It's so good. I believe the composer is Michael. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Starts with the G, but Michael G. I think he's also done the soundtrack for the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, and that soundtrack was very good. The score was so great. For those who are listening to the theme song, if you can kind of listen, I think it's a flute. There are notes weaved in throughout their theme song that's pulling from the original Marvel theme that you hear at the beginning of every movie, and then they kind of twist it into the Fantastic Four. I love it. I'm going to probably continue to listen to it for at least the next week straight.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a good soundtrack for sure. I don't know if I haven't sung it or anything, but no, I agree. It's up there. I know it's a different type of soundtrack, but you know, it's up there with the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. So they did a good job. Like you said, everything, the visuals, the audio. I think they nailed it.
So my last pro, so this is probably going to sound like a con to a lot of people, but it's a pro because it's more of a compliment. I wish this movie was a little bit longer. I enjoyed it throughout the whole start to end, and it's a minute. If it was a minute, we'd be having problems. It was an hour 55, and I believe that states even with credits. So you might be looking like an hour 50, an hour 49 tops, that's crazy to hear of nowadays, because every movie is like a minimum of 2 hours and 30 minutes, or it's a 3 hour, like slugfest that you got to get through. So this one, this is where it's going to sound weird. It was, I think, in the perfect time for what we got, but I still wish they could have added like maybe 10, 15 minutes, whether it be another action scene, some more dialogue, diving into some more character development, like The Thing or something, because there are some storylines and plots they hint at in this movie with The Thing, and they don't really expand on it. It's just kind of there in the background, just I guess to kind of shine some light on him, because they try shining their light on each one of these characters. But yeah, so I wish it was a little bit longer, but that's a compliment to the film because I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. If they even added just 10 or 15 minutes of something, I wouldn't complain whatsoever. And it could have been any one of those things that you listed, but it didn't feel too short. It didn't feel like rushed because and again, kind of different topic, and I know you said you didn't watch, so I watched Ironheart, and they did 6 episodes, and I felt like they rushed it right to the end, and it felt like weird. I mean, there was a lot of things I had problems with it, which is totally different conversation for another day. But if again, if you just extend the movie like 10, 15 minutes, I think you could have done or explained a lot more, whether it's, like you said, going down Ben Grimm or the Thing's storyline, or any of the other characters for that matter, if you wanted to talk a little bit more about their origin story, whatever, maybe even Galactus. I think they would have hit it out of the park no matter which direction they would have went.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so now we'll get into our cons. I honestly, this is probably going to be shocking. I really don't have that many for this film. If you've watched a few of my Marvel movies in the past, I do tend to get a little harsh on them just because phase one in the first like 22 films we got was just so great, and to fall from that grace is just like I'm gonna hold them to a little bit higher standard for what they created. So you can go ahead and start us with your cons if you got any.
Yeah, without trying to spoil it, I do wish there was a little bit more action, especially from a couple of characters. I won't reveal who they are, but it felt that they were focusing more from the action side on a couple of the characters, and the other ones you didn't see a whole bunch of. I wish there was more action sequences, more use of their special abilities, and again, going back to that, hey, if we got that extra 10 or 15 minutes or whatever, maybe we could have used that time for that. And I thought that would have been a lot better, especially if you're going in and planning to see like 2 hours full of action. Don't go in with that expectation, because you're going to come out of the theater disappointed. So that was one of my, probably the biggest con that I had, was just missing, some of that those action sequences, which I think they could have capitalized on.
I do agree with you. This movie is not action packed like other Marvel movies before it. It's more of a character driven movie, a lot of exposition, character building. And I'm okay with that because I thought they did a good job with the character building and, dialogue in this film for the most part. It's a superhero movie. You do expect to see some action scenes. So, yeah, I do wish there was a little bit more. This is probably heading into, I guess, spoiler territory. I feel like the climactic fight was a little underwhelming, and I felt like there could have been a bigger payoff at the end. But overall, the action scenes were cool. They look great. I do agree with you. There seemed to be an emphasis on some characters' powers compared to other ones. I wish they would have expanded a little bit more with some of the others, or seeing them, maybe just team up a little bit more, because it felt like there was a lot of solo action sequences between the characters, but there wasn't really that family team up moment. You got maybe one or two between one or two of them, but you never got like how you did in the very first Fantastic Four from the early 2000s with Doctor Doom, where they all team up to beat Doom. That was a cool scene. And so I do agree with you. Wish there was a little bit more. Hopefully in the next Fantastic Four film, we will get that, and we will see a little bit more exposing of the powers, because some of these characters, some of their powers are pretty crazy, and they really didn't dive into that. So my con that I'm going to go with is, I will say, although I did praise it for them showing the family aspects between the four of them, and this is the first family, I do feel like at times in this movie, it kind of feels like it's split, and they aren't like, it's not that true family feeling. For example, there a lot of Sue Storm and Reed Richards are together and fighting, like dealing with stuff in this movie, while Ben and Johnny are kind of off doing their own solo thing, or they're teaming up kind of in the background doing some like minor things in the background. There wasn't a true feeling of all four of them coming together, really, except for maybe the dinner scenes. And even then, the dinner scenes, it was kind of 2 against 2, because this isn't a spoiler, everybody knows Sue's pregnant, Reed and Sue are going to have a baby. And that whole scene of where I'm late, and Johnny's like, yeah, you're late for dinner. And then Ben's like, oh, are you pregnant? That felt like it was, Reed and Sue along with Ben and Johnny kind of doing their own thing. So that's kind of like a small nitpick I have, but overall I did feel that they did a good job with the family element.
Yeah, going back to one of the things you mentioned, and not spoiling it, is I thought the ending of the climactic fight was pretty predictable. So I think we all saw it coming of what happened, and how it ended. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. But again, it's a little bit nitpicky, but I'd have to throw that in the con bucket as well.
And then the other con I have is just going to be, everybody knows there's end credit scenes with Marvel movies. This one has 2. There's a mid credit, there is a post credit. The post-credit scene's absolute trash. I didn't need to sit another 5 minutes to watch that. Like, are you kidding me? Like, they did this with Superman too. Like, people are waiting for something cool to pop up, and it's just like that was a wasted post-credit scene. Mid-credit scene, though, hey, all on board with that. They should have made that the post-credit scene.
Yep, switch them. Yep.
Yeah, because it's pretty cool. But that's the last con I have. You have any more?
No, those are the 2 big ones at least that I had. which weren't even that big, but
Right.
there has to be some cons in every movie.
Yeah, no movie's perfect. You're always gonna find
Yep.
that little thing. So I don't want people to be like, oh, he's just glazing this movie. It's like, so yes, there are some stuff in here. All right, going on to your ratings. What are you gonna rate this movie, Radio?
I've been thinking about this ever since I walked out of the theater. I think it. Can we use 0.5s in our
You can do
rating?
0.5s, you can do fractions, you can do
All
whatever
right.
you want.
All right. I think I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
I think it was a very strong movie. For me, again, if it was, like you said, a little bit longer, fill it a little bit more action scenes, balance some things out a little bit, maybe put a little twist in there, I think it would have been, a 9 or 9.5. But I think 8.5 out of 10. Strong movie, and definitely want to go see it again.
You stole my thunder again. That's gonna be my grade is 8.5. I'll be honest. Once I left the theater, I was in the 9 range, the 9.5 range, and I was like, all right, let's temper my excitement a little bit. Let's go back, breathe a little bit, really think about everything. And yeah, I'm gonna go 8.5. I'll be honest, I loved this film. I was not expecting to feel this way coming out of the theater. I thought we were gonna get another bad attempt at resuscitating this franchise of the Fantastic Four that has just been dead in the water every time they try, but they did a great job. The visuals were fantastic. Galactus was a real villain in this movie. You kind of felt terrified when you saw him and what they're going up against. Character development in the movie was very good. I loved the casting for the film. I don't really have complaints about any of the casting whatsoever. Even some of the minor characters in the background, I thought they did a great job. Really like what they did with Shia LaBeouf, Silver Surfer in this. They explored more of her origin and go into like her motivation of why she does what she does. And I really appreciated that. I liked what they did with her and Johnny Storm. But I will say the amount of action we got does bring the score down a little bit because I was wanting more. The end credit scene upset me a little bit because I was in a packed theater, so I waited with everybody else and then had to try to walk out of this theater with everybody shoulder to shoulder. Other than that, though, love this film. I was thinking about this. This might sneak into my top 5 Marvel movies of my all-time favorite. It's right there. We might have to come on here and do a list, our top 5 favorite and our top least favorite. I think that'd be a fun little thing to do.
Yeah, I would be down for that for sure, because it's obviously always changing every time you get a new movie. You got to redo your list again. So
right.
We have another year to figure it out, because we don't get the next one will be Spider-Man Brand New Day as far as Marvel movies go. But we have some time to put together a list.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. But yeah, I'm going with 8.5. We're unanimous. 8.5. Go see this movie in theater. This is definitely, I want to say, other than F1, this is by far my favorite summer movie I have watched yet. It's great. I'm probably gonna do a list of my top 5 favorite movies of this year. This one is probably gonna be on it. I'll be completely honest. They did a great job. Marvel's on the climb. Now, if we could just stop focusing on some of these TV shows and just put more resources into the movies, I think Marvel can climb back up and really become a powerhouse again. Because I think right now they're spaced out too thin and along too many projects. So let's focus a little bit more. Focus on the movies like how we did in Phase 1. Character development. If you want to do some side characters in your TV show, that's cool. If you're gonna do it, at least put some effort into it. Because I watched reviews on Ironheart and everything I heard is like, this is the exact reason why I will not watch it. From the first trailer I saw, I was like, this looks trash.
I've said it out on X, but I'll say it here. I gave it a 3 out of 10.
Wow.
And I'm probably
honest,
one of the higher scores.
Yeah, you're a forgiving person when it comes to that. So if you gave it a 3 out of 10, I probably would have hit it with a big fat 00. Like, I'm not enjoying anything at all. And it stinks too, because I know they brought a major character introduced finally into Marvel we've been waiting for. And it's like, I'll be honest too, like, I wasn't a fan of who they picked. I'm sorry. That's Borat. I don't want to see Borat as Mephisto, So, King of the Castle. So, yeah, but that's my and Radio's review for Fantastic Four. Do yourself a favor, bring your kids to the theater, go watch this one. It's a fun time. You will enjoy it, and Marvel's on the climb, baby. So, thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another review with Coda's Cove. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe. Hey, if you have any recommendations for any content you would want me and Radio to do with Marvel or anything, leave them down in the comments. But be sure to tell a friend to come sub to the Cove. We are trying to get to 1,000 subs. Channel's been growing here lately, folks. I appreciate all the support. So just thank you, Radio. Thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having me.